My name is Ben, this is Boardgame Dad, and today we're talking about the 2 to 5 player game Her Story by Underdog Games. Now, this box says it's for ages 8 and up. I have played this with my 6-year-old and 8-year-old. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how the game is played, then I'm going to review its theme, mechanics, components, strategy, and complexity, and then finally, I'll end with my final recommendation for the game. In Her Story, players are going to be writing a book about famous historical female figures. So, to set up this game, every player is going to have a desk where they're going to keep their drafts, their chapters, and their resources organized. They're also going to have a player aid and library card. And then common to everyone will be an idea board where you're going to have the chapters placed out as well as the resource tiles. And that's the entire setup. So for gameplay, players are just going to be taking turns choosing one of 3 actions. First action a player can take is they can select a resource tile and add it to their desk. Now, they can choose any of the 6 resource tiles, but if they don't see what they want or what they need, twice during the game they can use their library card to refresh the resources. The second action a player can do is they can draft a chapter. So to do this, they can simply pick any of the character chapter cards, and you'll notice on these cards that there are few things to take into consideration. You've got a cost, point value, as well as a special benefit at the bottom of the card, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But to draft, you simply take the card and add it to your draft section of your desk. And doing this will reserve the card so that nobody else can take it, and it also scores you 2 points. And then finally, you can complete a chapter. Now, you can complete any chapter that's available on the idea board, or you can complete either of your 2 slots where a drafted card is placed. Now, to do this, you have to spend the resources that you've collected during the game, and you need to spend tiles that have the resource icons on the chapter that you want to complete. If you have extra resources, that's fine, and you'll simply add the card and score the points located in the top left corner. However, if a player can spend the exact value in resource icons, then not only will they get the points for the card, but they'll score 3 bonus points. So that is the end of the action for completing a chapter. However, the card can potentially have continued effects for the rest of the game. So one of these effects is an additional resource, which can count towards any future chapters that are completed during the game. Another type of bonus would be a text effect that will give the player some benefit during the game, and then you have text effects that will give them extra points at the end of the game. And then finally you have cards that have no extra benefit at all, but in these cases those cards are usually worth a lot of points. So play continues like this, with each player choosing one of those 3 actions until a player has completed their 8th action. At this point, players continue playing until everyone has had an equal number of turns, and then chapters are scored for their bonus effects, and the player with the most points wins. Now at that point, in celebration, all players collect all of their chapter cards, flip it over, put their player aid on top to be the cover of their book, and players can read about the historical characters that they've just collected. There are 120 unique cards in this game, with many figures that will be familiar to you and many others that will not be familiar to you. So reading the story will be a very enriching experience for everyone. Her Story is a very unique game with some very special characteristics, but with every game I review, I always break it down into 5 attributes: theme, mechanics, components, strategy, and complexity. In fact, I put profiles of all the games on my web app, theperfectboardgame.com. Now for theme, this game doesn't have a whole lot going on thematically except for the flavor text on the back of the cards. I think that's a wonderful characteristic of this game. However, it doesn't really impact gameplay, so for theme this game has a 2. Now for mechanics, this game is very simple. It's a game that is easy to understand. It's a game that my 6-year-old had no problem picking up. It's very intuitive. But it's not very original. This is basically resource collection in order to collect sets to satisfy objectives or chapters. So for mechanics, I give it an average score, about a 6. But for components, this game is stellar. It comes with a high quality neoprene mat. All of the resource tokens are in a very nice bag. They're not punched out of cardboard, but they come pre-punched out with a good thickness to them and high quality about them as well. And then the artwork on the cards is gorgeous. Every single profile is recognizable. They're beautiful. The cards themselves are high quality. Even the player pawns that are used to keep score are high quality wood piece. So I can't name a single thing about this game component wise that could be improved. This game has a 10 for components. For strategy, this game is again very simple. I usually think of strategy as being how much you can plan in advance or think ahead, and as far as that's concerned in this game, you can try to draft sets of cards that have great benefits that will play off of each other, but what's available to you is a total luck of the draw. There's 120 unique cards there, so you can try to find a good combination, and you can try to draft something. If you see somebody's about to possibly build it before you, you can steal that away so that no one can take it from you, and that's good, but there is a lot of luck involved that kind of counters anything that would get it much more strategic than about like a 3 or a 4, probably a 3 for strategy. And then for complexity, this game takes less than 5 minutes to teach. It's simple enough for young kids to play, except for the reading element. You may have to help young players who aren't yet able to read on their own. However, all cards are face up, so it's very easy for a parent to be able to remind a child what a card does if they can't read it on their own. So for complexity, this game has a 2. So this is a game with a very high component score and an average mechanic score, which means this is the kind of game that's going to be very satisfying to play. It's going to be very satisfying to interact with the pieces, and the mechanic is going to be simple enough that it's easy to carry on a conversation while you play this game or have a snack. This is a relaxing game. It's not going to really exercise your mind as you think deeply about what you're trying to do. It more feels like a casual game where you can actually enjoy the people that you're with rather than have a real focus on the gameplay. In fact, to me, if I was to just rate it as a game alone, I would call the game a little bit boring. But after we were done playing, like in the words that my wife used, she immediately said, I loved this. She loved it, and I loved it too, because it was just so relaxing and enjoyable to play. But, as I said earlier, this is a very special game with a unique characteristic that I don't normally rate. The game is very educational. The fact that you end the game by turning those cards over and reading about the history of these characters is very exciting. This is, even though it's not even part of the game, at this point somebody's already won, but you will not want to skip reading the backs of these cards, especially if you have daughters. With my 6-year-old and my 8-year-old, it was a delight to look at these pictures, to wonder what they are famous for, why they're even in the game in the first place, and go, oh, wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that about her, and this is an interesting character from history. There were women who helped in the American Revolution, women who were former slaves, women who were authors and producers, women who are scientists, political leaders. There is such a wide variety of characters, and to be able to discuss that as a family after you played, that is an attribute of a game that I so seldom see in a family board game, and that is why you'd really want to go for this. If you're just looking for a game, this plays a lot like Splendor. That's how what I would compare it to. But if you want like a Splendor game with an educational twist, this is really a great find. So that's my review for Her Story. If you'd like to find more like this and you'd like other educational or family recommendations, don't forget to check out theperfectboardgame.com. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.